My name is Emma Martinez-Thompson, and if I've learned anything in the past year, it's that true value isn't always visible at first glance. Sometimes it's buried deep beneath the surface, protected by generations of silence. The story began at Henderson Associates Law Office in Phoenix, Arizona, where my husband Michael and I sat with his family for the reading of his father's will. Robert Thompson Sr. had been a tough man to please in life, and it seemed he'd designed his will to continue that tradition after death. To my eldest son, Robert Jr., I leave the Thompson Energy corporate holdings and my position as CEO, the lawyer read. No surprise there. Robert Jr. had been groomed for that role since birth. To my daughter, Katherine, I leave the family estate in Paradise Valley and my art collection. Katherine smirked, already mentally redecorating. And to my youngest son, Michael, the lawyer paused, adjusting his glasses, I leave the old Thompson Ranch property in Serpent Valley, all 300 acres. The room erupted in poorly concealed laughter. Robert Jr. didn't even try to hide his amusement. Perfect, the family failure gets the worthless desert. Dad's sense of humor lasted right to the end. I squeezed Michael's hand as he stared at the floor. He'd spent years trying to earn his father's approval, turning down a promising career in environmental science to work at Thompson Energy. Nothing had ever been good enough. There was one condition, the lawyer continued, silencing the room. The Serpent Valley property cannot be sold for at least 1 year after my death. It must be maintained in its current condition. If these conditions are not met, the property reverts to Thompson Energy. What's to maintain? Katherine snorted. Rattlesnakes and cacti. But I noticed something odd. A slight tremor in the lawyer's hand as he read that part, a flicker of something in his eyes. And I remembered the last time we'd visited Robert Sr. in the hospital. How he gripped Michael's hand and whispered, "Protect the valley." We thought it was just delirium. The next day, Michael and I drove out to see our inheritance. The property lay 2 hours north of Phoenix, in a valley that lived up to its name. The winding road was marked by a weathered sign, Thompson Ranch, no trespassing. Dad used to talk about this place, Michael said as we bumped along the dirt road. Said his grandfather won it in a poker game back in the 1920s. Never did anything with it except pay the property taxes. The valley opened up before us, a stunning expanse of red rock and desert sage. In the distance, ancient cliffs rose like guardians, their faces etched by centuries of wind and rain. It was beautiful in a harsh, untamed way. Look, I pointed to a cluster of old buildings, a small ranch house, a barn, and what looked like a storage shed, all weathered by decades of desert sun. As we explored the ranch house, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were missing something. The buildings were old but solidly built. The location, while remote, had a strange beauty. Why had the Thompson family held onto this property for 3 generations without developing it? "Hey, come look at this," Michael called from what must have been his grandfather's office. He was holding a dusty ledger, its pages yellow with age. The ledger contained meticulous notes about the property, but they were odd. Instead of the expected ranch records, there were entries about geological surveys never filed, visitors turned away, and repeated mentions of something called the Guardian's Trust. "Your father kept this place exactly as his father left it," I mused, flipping through the pages. "And his father before him." "Why?" Before Michael could answer, a truck appeared in the driveway. Not the shiny SUVs his siblings drove, but an old pickup with tribal plates. A man stepped out, tall, weathered, probably in his 60s, wearing a turquoise belt buckle that caught the sunlight. "I am John Red Cloud," he said as we walked out to meet him, chief of the Navajo Nation's Council of Elders. "I've been waiting for you." Michael and I exchanged glances. "Waiting for us?" Chief Red Cloud nodded solemnly. "Your grandfather, your father's father, he was a friend to our people. He understood what this valley truly is, what it protects." "Protects?" Michael asked. The chief's eyes swept the valley, settling on a particular formation in the cliffs. "There are things in this world that should remain undisturbed. Your great-grandfather learned this. Your grandfather honored it. Your father," he paused, "your father struggled with the knowledge, but in the end he chose wisely." He reached into his truck and pulled out a worn leather map case. "Before your father died, he asked me to give you this when you were ready. I think that time is now." Inside the case was an old map of the valley, but unlike any map I'd seen before. It showed strange markings, ancient paths, and symbols I didn't recognize. And there in the center was something that made my breath catch, a detailed drawing of what lay beneath the valley floor. "This isn't just land," Chief Red Cloud said quietly. "This is sacred ground. And now you are its guardians." As the sun set behind the cliffs, casting long shadows across the valley, I realized why Robert Sr. had given Michael this inheritance. Not as a punishment, but as a test, and maybe, just maybe, as a chance for redemption. What we didn't know then was that others had already learned about the valley's secret, and they would stop at nothing to take it from us. The map Chief Red Cloud gave us changed everything. Beneath the valley's surface lay a vast network of underground springs and caves. But that wasn't what made the land sacred. The caves contained something far more precious, ancient petroglyphs and artifacts that told the story of the land's first peoples, preserved perfectly for thousands of years. The springs create a natural climate control system, Chief Red Cloud explained as we examined the map in the ranch house. That's why the artifacts have survived so long. Your great-grandfather discovered the caves by accident while digging a well. When he realized what he'd found, he protected it, Michael finished, understanding dawning in his eyes. That's why the family kept the land. Yes, he made a pact with my grandfather, then chief of the council. The Thompson family would be the guardians, keeping the world away until the right time came. Before we could ask what the right time meant, the sound of approaching vehicles cut through the desert silence. Through the window, I saw 3 black SUVs racing up the dirt road, kicking up clouds of dust. "Right on schedule," Chief Red Cloud muttered, quickly rolling up the map. "Your brother works fast." Robert Jr. burst through the door without knocking, followed by 2 men in expensive suits. His face was flushed with excitement barely masked as concern. "Michael, thank God you're here. Listen, there's something you need to know about this property. Our geological survey team found some interesting readings. Thompson Energy is prepared to make you a very generous offer." "The land isn't for sale, Robert," Michael interrupted quietly. "You know the conditions of the will." Robert's fake smile faltered. "Don't be stupid, little brother. This is business. The survey shows potential for massive helium deposits. Do you have any idea how valuable those are? We're talking billions." "Helium deposits?" Chief Red Cloud's voice carried a hint of amusement. "Is that what your instruments detected?" Robert finally noticed the chief's presence, his expression turning cold. "This is a private family matter. I'll have to ask you to leave." "Actually," I stepped forward, "Chief Red Cloud is here at our invitation. And he's right, your instruments aren't detecting helium deposits." The next hour was a crash course in the valley's true significance. Chief Red Cloud explained how the cave system's unique properties had preserved not just artifacts, but an entire lost history of the American Southwest. The readings Robert's team had detected were actually the vast underground springs that had protected these treasures for millennia. This site could rewrite everything we know about ancient Native American civilizations, I explained, my archaeological background finally proving useful. "It's priceless, but not in a way you think." Robert's face grew darker with each word. "You can't be serious. You'd throw away billions for some old cave paintings? This is exactly why Dad never trusted you with anything important." Actually, Michael's voice was stronger now. "I think this is exactly why he did trust me with this, because he knew I understand its real value." "We'll see about that," Robert snarled, storming out. His parting shot carried clearly. "The will says you have to maintain the property. Let's see how long you can do that without money." He was right about one thing: maintaining 300 acres of desert property wasn't cheap. Over the next months, Robert threw every obstacle he could at us. Our water rights were mysteriously challenged, road access was disputed. Anonymous complaints about property violations flooded the county office. But Robert had underestimated us, and the power of the valley's secret. Chief Red Cloud introduced us to Dr. Sarah Blackwood, a leading archaeologist specializing in Southwest Native American cultures. When she saw the cave system, she actually cried. "This is unprecedented," she breathed, examining a perfectly preserved ceremonial chamber. "The historical and cultural significance. This needs to be protected at all costs." Within weeks, Dr. Blackwood had helped us file for protected status with both state and federal authorities. The valley was declared a site of exceptional historical importance, making any industrial development impossible. regardless of who owned it. Robert was furious. His dreams of helium billions evaporated as news of the archaeological discovery spread through academic circles. But his final play was still to come. 6 months after the will reading, Katherine showed up at the ranch house. Unlike Robert's bullying, she tried honey. "Mikey," she wheedled, using his childhood name, "you're not thinking this through. Yes, the caves are historically important, but think bigger. We could build a cultural center, a museum, a resort celebrating Native American heritage. Thompson Energy would handle everything. You wouldn't have to worry about maintenance costs." I watched my husband's face, seeing the old pull of family approval warring with his newfound sense of purpose. But when he spoke, his voice was firm. "The valley isn't a tourist attraction, Kath. It's a sacred trust. The answer is no." The honey vanished. "You always were Dad's biggest disappointment," she snapped. "Now I see why he gave you this worthless dirt. You deserve each other." But her words had no power anymore. Michael had found something stronger than his family's approval. He found his purpose. Working with Chief Red Cloud and Dr. Blackwood, we established the Serpent Valley Heritage Trust. The cave system was carefully documented while respecting its sacred nature. Select artifacts, chosen by the tribal council, were displayed in a small museum on the property, with proceeds supporting both site preservation and Native American education programs. 1 year after the will reading, Robert and Katherine returned, this time with lawyers. They claimed we had failed to maintain the property by allowing archaeological teams access. The hearing was held in the county courthouse. Robert's lawyers presented photos of research equipment, arguing this violated the will's requirement to keep the property in its current condition. Then our lawyer, the same one who had read the will, stood up. "I have here," he said, pulling out a sealed envelope, "Robert Thompson Sr.'s explicit instructions regarding the maintenance clause." He read, "The property must be maintained in its role as guardian of the valley's secrets, in partnership with the original guardians who showed my grandfather the truth." Robert Jr.'s face went white. The old lawyer continued, "Mr. Thompson approached me 10 years ago about this addendum. He knew exactly what would happen when his children learned about the valley." The case was dismissed. As we left the courthouse, I asked the lawyer why he hadn't revealed this earlier. "Mr. Thompson was very clear," he smiled. "Michael had to choose to protect the valley on his own, not because of his father's instructions. He had to prove he understood its true value. Today the valley remains a peaceful place, its secrets carefully protected. The old ranch house has become a research center, where archaeologists and tribal historians work together to unlock the mysteries of the caves while respecting their sacred nature." Michael has found his calling, combining his environmental science background with the valley's preservation. He's never been happier or more fulfilled. Robert and Katherine don't visit anymore, but sometimes I catch them looking at news articles about the unprecedented archaeological discoveries at Serpent Valley. Last week, we found something interesting in the old ranch house. A letter from Michael's great-grandfather to his son, written in 1943. "This land's true worth isn't in what you can take from it, but in what you protect for the future. Some will call you a fool for guarding dust and rocks. Let them. The greatest treasures are often the ones that can't be sold." As I watched the sun set behind the ancient cliffs, painting the sky in colors no artist could capture, I think about value. How it's measured not in dollars, but in preservation, in respect, in understanding what truly matters. Robert Sr. knew exactly what he was doing when he gave Michael this worthless inheritance. He wasn't punishing his youngest son. He was entrusting him with something priceless. And sometimes that's the greatest gift of all.